Good morning, everyone. It's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. So today we are going to play around with a stamp set called Painted Stripes. And I have created some patriotic cards using this particular stamp set. So I'm going to share these very simple card ideas with you. And it's just a fun way to use this particular set. So these are the cards that we are going to create today. And I tend to create cards for a couple different veterans events. So that's why I'm focused on creating these cards and sharing these with you. We create cards, our team does, for veterans taking the honor flight. And then I also create cards for church to support our veterans during the Veterans Day events. So these are just some of the cards that I put together that I plan on using for both of these events. So, all right. So, good morning, everyone. Good morning. So, let's get started and talk about basically the stamp sets and things that I'm going to be using. So if you haven't seen this stamp set, it's called Painted Stripes, and it's a very large background stamp set. So this is the one that I'm using to create the little stripes on the card. And then I'm also using the Simply Said. So all of these patriotic cards are thank you cards for our veterans. So I'm using just the thank you from that particular set. And then if you're wondering where I got the stars from, these stars came from, well, I should show you the set, from this Crafting with You bundle. So these little tiny stars right in here, that's what I used. It was kind of challenging to find some stars, but I did find some in one of the sets. So those are the sets that I'm using to create these cards. So let me show you how I did this. I'm going to just move these out of the way. We'll create this one first. So I like to create just a variety of different designs with the stamp set. Now I got to find my stamp. Here it is. So this is the big background stamp that we're going to use. So we'll create this one first. And for this particular card, I'm using Night of Navy for all my card bases are Night of Navy. And then, of course, I'm using some basic white cardstock, and then I'm also using some real red ink. So those are the colors that I'm using. So for this particular card, you're going to need two pieces of white cardstock. You're going to need one that is 4 by 5 1/4. And then you're going to need one that's a little bit smaller, which is 3 3/4 by 5. So this is the one that we're going to do our stamping on. And so let me grab some scrap paper here. And basically what we're going to do is just ink this up and add our stripes, and then we'll do the decorating after we add the stripes. So I like to flip my ink pad upside down like this and ink up these large images. It's just a lot easier to do it this way than to try to hold your stamp this direction and ink it up. So with these large images, just kind of go along and tap your ink pad on there. So we're just using real red. And then we will try to line it up the best we can and stamp it. And then we'll peel this off, and that's what our image looks like. So I like this stamp set because it just kind of gives you this painted look, I guess. That's why it's called Painted Stripes. So let me get some room here. All right, let me bring back in all my other pieces and we'll put this card together. So this was the smaller piece. This was the 3 3/4 by 5 that I stamped on. So we're just going to adhere it to this slightly larger piece, the 4 by 5 1/4. So let's add that. And let's see, which way should we put it? We'll put it this way. So we'll add it to this. And then we might as well just add it to our card base right away. All right, so there we go. So that's the basic uh, idea for the card here. And then we're going to add all our little elements. So I have a 1 1/4 by 5. So this is 1 1/4 by 5-inch piece of Night of Navy. And we'll just add this off to the side here. So we're basically just going to cover up a little bit of these stripes. And then let's go ahead and stamp our greeting. I just have a 2.5-inch long piece of white cardstock. It's a 1/2 inch wide. And we'll just use a little bit of Night of Navy here. And let's add this. All right. So let's go ahead and glue this on. So you don't have to make thank you cards. I just happen to be making thank you cards. You can make these however you want. And then let's add our little stars. So I have all these little stars that I cut using that Crafting for You die. So the best way to do this, because these are little tiny pieces, is to just kind of lay them on this blue piece where you want them, roughly where you want them. And then we're going to use our little tool here. So this is the little take your pick tool. And we're going to pick this up. And we're just going to add a little bit of glue. And then we'll hold this down. And we'll turn it so it's a little straight here. And so that's basically what I do. I just kind of go along and add a little bit of glue and use this tool to get it on there. Let's move these up. I already got glue on my fingers and I just started. Isn't that always the case, right? All right, let's see if we can line these up a little bit better. Let's pick this one up. Oop, that one I got a little bit of glue outside there. So this is probably the trickiest part of making this card, is to get that on there. And then let's grab the last one. All right, so you get the idea about adding these stars. And let's see, put that one on there. All right, so that is our first card. Pretty simple. I hope you thought it was simple. And then you can just add some white cardstock and decorate the inside the same way you could, stamp some little stripes and add some little stars to the inside, so you could decorate it however you want. So, all right, so that is the first card that I want to share with you. So let's find our second one here. Here is another very simple design. So this time I have to find our little pieces. This time we're going to do something similar. We're still going to use our Night of Navy for the card base, and we're going to layer together 2 pieces of white cardstock. So let me grab these here. So the outer one is the bigger one. This bigger one is 4 1/4 by 3 1/4, and then the smaller one is just 3 by 4. So we're going to do our stamping on the smaller one. And we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to ink up that large image. So let me grab that here. We'll ink these up. Sorry, I'm going to take this off screen. It's a little bit easier for me to ink it up off screen. Okay, so we will stamp. Oh, did I get enough down there? Hang on a second. I don't think I went all the way down. Okay, there we go. Let's go on here. So we'll ink that up. And there's our piece for our card. So easy way to add stripes, right? All right, now I got to grab my other piece. So let's go ahead and add these two pieces. We want to adhere these two pieces together. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll add those. And then we'll bring our card base back. And we'll add this to our card base. And so that will be your center focal point, your background. And then it's just a matter of adding these pieces. So I use the Stylish Shapes dies to create this little piece. So if you're wondering how big it is, it's 1.5 by 1.5. So if you don't have the dies that add the little stitching, you can just cut a 1.5 by 1.5 inch square. And then let's go ahead and add, well, actually, let's add this to our card front first. So we'll just add some dimensionals here. And this I'm just gonna put right up in the corner and just kind of cover that up. And there's all my little stars. So for this one, I'm just adding 4 little stars. So we'll add one on the top. I just want to scoot it down a little bit. Okay, I didn't quite get it scooted down, but I'll just add one on the bottom. And then we'll add our other ones on each side. Oop, a little bit too much glue, I can tell already. There we go. And then let's add this one. You can also add these little stars with glue dots if you want. It takes a little bit more time if you add them with glue dots, but all right, so there is our little flag. And then I just stamped a little greeting on a 1/2 inch wide scrap piece of white cardstock, and I just made, kind of snipped the end into a banner. And then this is just going to go right down on the bottom, just like that. So very simple, and this is just a really nice thank you card for the veterans. So, all right, so that is card number 2. Let's see, where is my other one? Let's do a similar one. So this design might look familiar to you. I've used this design before with these 4 different rectangular shapes, but this time I made it into a flag. So it's a great way to just kind of use little pieces. These pieces are 1.5 by 2 inches, each one of them. So I have 3 pieces that we're going to stamp. I have 3 pieces of white that we're going to stamp with the stripes. And then I have a piece of Night of Navy that will put the little stars on. So let me show you how I did this. So let's bring back our scrap paper. And so basically, I'm just going to lay these on here. And then we are going to ink up our big, large background image. So notice how I'm not cleaning this off each time I do it. I just ink right over it. So let's get this all inked up. And then let's see if I can get these stripes on there. All right, let's see. And then we have this and this one and this one. You could actually just stamp a big piece of paper and then cut these down to size, but it works either way that you want to do it. All right, and so what we're going to do is adhere these pieces to a 4.5 by 3.5 inch piece of white cardstock. So let's see, these are going to go there, and this one will go there. And let's add our little blue one up here. So this is basically what it's going to look like. Let's move some of this stuff out of the way. It just creates a really nice little design. Let's add this. So we're just going to add all these pieces, and then we can put the rest of the card together. Oh, I think I got my finger on that. I must have some ink on my finger. I do. I do. Imagine that. Every time I use red, I get ink all over the place. All right, so that is the design. So let's bring in our card base. I'm just going to grab my bone folder for a second here. And we'll glue this down. All right, so that is our basic design. And then we just have to add our little stars. So I just kind of did the same thing as the last one. I just put one on the top. And we'll put one on the bottom. Apparently I'm adding too much glue. It's just mushing out. That one on the bottom. And then we'll put these on the side. Let's turn this. There we go. I'll have to go back and read your comments. Putting all these stars on, it's hard to read all your comments, but I'll go back and read them when I'm done. All right, so there is our little flag, and it's just with these little 1.5 by 2 inch pieces. And then I just created another little greeting just on a 1/2 inch wide piece. It's just a scrap piece of white cardstock. And we will just pop this up. Actually, we're going to pop it up right over where I smudged. So we're going to put it right here. There we go. All right, so that is card number 3. So I had a lot of fun with this stamp set and creating these patriotic cards. So let me show you this last one. So this last one's a little bit bigger design. So we are going to use a, let's see, I got a bunch of stuff here. Let me get all this stuff off. We're going to use a larger piece. And, oh, I think I forgot to cut the middle piece. Well, look at that. Let's cut that right away. All right, we'll have to pause for a second so I can cut this because I forgot to cut it. Forgot to cut the piece we're going to stamp on. All right, so now I think I got it. So we have 2 pieces here. This piece in the background is just 4 by 4. And then we have a 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 inch piece. And then on the bottom, I just have a piece of white cardstock, which is 1 by 4. So that's going to be the basic design. Oops, sorry, I'm moving off the screen here. All right, so we are going to use this centerpiece, the smaller one, to do our stamping on. That's the 3 3/4. I got to make some room here, guys. Okay. Where's my thing? 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. We're going to do our stamping on that. Let's ink up this big image. All right. And let's add it right about there. And we went a little crooked, but that's all right. You won't even notice. Other than I told you, you won't even notice. All right. So then let's bring back in this card. This is actually what it's going to look like. So let's start by adhering these 2 pieces together. So do you see, I could have adhered it right to the blue cardstock, but I just thought that adding that little bit of white behind it, this white piece, just gave it a really nice look. So that's why I have these different pieces of white cardstock. So let's add this. So we're doing pretty good on time actually here. So far, this is card number 4 that we've created. All right, so this is going to go right up on the top here. And then our white piece is going to go on the bottom. So this is that 1 by 4. That's going to go on the bottom. Let's scoot that down a little bit. And then let's go ahead and stamp this. This is just a 1/2 inch by 3 1/2 inches. And we're going to add our greeting on this. So let's do that first. We'll just add this right in the middle. Oop, I have glue on my finger. And then I have this is 3 inches long. It's 3/4 inches wide. Hold on, I got red ink all over the place. So you will get red ink everywhere, no matter how hard you try. All right, let's see. I think I got it all off. All right, so let's add these 2 pieces together. I like to add just a little bit of color behind my greetings, just to, kind of draw it out a little bit. Draw out this greeting. All right, so let's bring this back. And we're going to add some dimensionals on that. And we'll put this one in the middle. And so this will just go right down on the bottom here. And I just added some little embellishments. So let's add some of these. You can add the textured adhesive dots, or what are these called? These are pressed flowers, I think, what they're called. Either one would be pretty on there. And then it's just a matter of adding our little squares. So I use the Stylish Shapes dies again. So this one is about 1 7/8 by 1 7/8, roughly. Is that what it was? Yeah. So we're just going to add this up in the corner. So I popped this up as well. Let's just do this. And we'll add a bigger one right there. I'm not having fun unless my fingers are inky. That's true. That's true. All right, so let's add this. And then you just add your stars. So I won't take you through adding all the stars because you guys have watched me add all the stars. But that's the basic design. And then when you add your stars, I have 9 of them on here, then this is what it looks like. And again, I didn't really add anything to the inside yet. I just wanted to show you the basic design for the outside. So, all right, so those are the 4 different cards. So let me bring them back so that you can see what they look like. We'll get them all back on the screen, I think. Let's switch them here. And then I do have 2 other card ideas that I just want to share with you. So let's grab this. There we go. All right, so those are the ones we just created. I will get these all up on the blog for you later today so that you'll have all the measurements. And if you want to create them, you certainly can. I also have some other cards that I created, and these I showcased on Wednesday. And these are actually fun fold cards. So these are gatefold cards. So this is the portrait style, and it's a 3-panel gatefold. So it opens kind of interestingly like that, and then it comes back together like this. So you have 2 panels that are going this direction. You have 1 panel that's going that direction, and then you can decorate the inside any way you want. So again, I'm making these for veterans. So I thought this was just a really, really neat way to use this particular stamp set and to create some really fun patriotic cards. So that's the portrait style. And then, of course, you guys know me, I have to create one in landscape style. So here is the landscape style. So the landscape style has the 5.5-inch side at the top and the 4 1/4 on the side, versus this one where it's 4 1/4 on the top and 5.5 on the side. So these are your standard A2 size cards. But these are, again, this is a 3 different panels here on the front. And I didn't make the panels go all the way across because I added the little stars directly on the card base itself. But then when you open it up, you have the decorations on the inside. And when I make cards for veterans, we actually write a very personalized message on there, thanking them for their service. So that's why I left it blank on the inside, because I do handwrite a message on these. So if you didn't see this video, you can catch it. You can by going to my blog. So I did provide a link in the description with this video so that you could go out there and check out these fun fold cards. So it's just a triple panel gatefold card. That's what it's called. And I created it 2 different ways. So you have the option of using it either in landscape style or in portrait style. So, all right, you guys. So I hope you enjoyed these card ideas and you're inspired to play around with this stamp set to create some patriotic cards, whether you're using them for a um, celebration, 4th of July celebration, or whether you're using them to support our veterans. It is a really great stamp set to use to create this style of card. So, all right. So, like I said, I'll get these up for you on the blog later today. So, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and a great week. And I will see you guys again next week. So, take care, everybody.